My name's John Marston. You wanted to speak to me.
I think it'd be safe to say that John Marston is without a doubt probably one of the most beloved characters in video game history. I mean, Robert Allen or Rob Whitehoff, I probably butchered that last name. If so, I greatly apologize, because believe me when I say I know how annoying it is for people to get your last name incorrect and not give a fuck. But Robert did it with such grace and nailed it so well that he really did make John Marston feel like that character came to life. And it's hard to imagine any other character being the face of the Red Dead series, or even playing as anybody else inside of a Red Dead Redemption game, because from the way Robert portrayed Marston, and Marston really made it seem like he's leaving his outlawish ways behind him and trying to make an honest living for himself, just all flowed very perfectly.
See, I already have a life. Well, I had one and I'm trying to reclaim it. Or maybe what you could say is that I had two and I'm trying to end one of them so the other can survive.
Well, kind of. And even though Red Dead Redemption 2, you're going to be playing as Arthur Morgan, the focal point for a lot of people's interest is to see exactly how the earlier years of John Marston played out, as well as see his role inside of the Vanderlyn gang. It'd also be a little interesting to see the birth of John Marston's daughter, because he does mention in the beginning of Red Dead Redemption that he did have a daughter at one point, but she ended up dying.
Miss McFarland, I'm married. I have a son. I had a daughter, but she died. Years before that, I rode in a gang.
A little morbid, I know, but it'd be nice to see just a little more depth to the face of the Red Dead series. But did you guys know there was actually another poster child before John Marston himself? And some even mistake him for being an earlier iteration of John Marston, even though that's completely not the case. Although completely understandable, he and John Marston have very similar facial scars as well as similar hats. I mean, there's no doubt that he at least inspired the character model of John Marston himself. But Red Harlow is the original face of the Red Dead series. He's the main protagonist of Red Dead Revolver, a game that was launched back in 2004 that was playable on the PlayStation 3 and the original Xbox. Don't you guys feel old? Now, there are still a handful of gameplay videos on Red Dead Revolver here on YouTube, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the game has not aged well at all. Seriously, it's about as well as grandmother's breast milk from the 1800s. But I digress. Besides a few facial similarities and possibly the same character design model, they are actually two completely different people. Inside of Red Dead Revolver, we see Red Harlow's parents get killed, and as such sets the tone and premise of the game, as we see Red grow up to become a bounty hunter to exact revenge on the death of his parents. Now yes, you can collect bounties inside of Red Dead Redemption and become a sort of bounty hunter that way, but still, it's not the same thing. Inside of Red Dead Redemption, Marston explains the history of his parents, explaining that his mother was a prostitute who died during childbirth, while his father was an Irish immigrant who hated the English. He also hints at his father being his mother's pimp, but doesn't actually outright say it.
It would kill him.
My father died when I was 8 years old. His eyes were, well, let's just say he was blinded in a bar fight south of Chicago. My mother died during childbirth. She was a prostitute and he was her, well, I don't know what he was.
Now, besides Red Harlow being the original face of the Red Dead series and not being the same person as John Marston, I feel like it's also worth pointing out that the universe inside of Red Dead Revolver and the universe inside of the Red Dead Redemption series, or Red Dead Redemption games, both Part 1 and Part 2, take place in different universes. Although there are some references inside of not only Grand Theft Auto 5 to Red Harlow, but apparently inside of Red Dead Redemption, there are some stories told of Harlow and the events that take place during the Red Dead Revolver game, but they're all considered to be myths, and all kind of spoken away of Harlow being a sort of legend and not an actual person that ever was alive. Now, before we continue into talking about Red Harlow, I feel like it's also worth mentioning that Red Dead Redemption is not a direct sequel to the Red Dead Revolver game, nor is Red Dead Revolver a prequel in any way. Red Dead Redemption is considered to be a sort of spiritual successor to Red Dead Revolver and doesn't have any actual direct correlation in storyline or characters to the video game. Anyways, after Red Dead Revolver ends up wrapping up with Red Harlow getting revenge for the death of his parents, that's ultimately the end of Red Harlow and the story behind Red Dead Revolver. Now, again, this game was released in 2004. Around 2005, rumors started to circulate that there was in fact a Red Dead Revolver 2 in the works, which later on turned out to be Red Dead Redemption, and with Red Dead Redemption being the next installment in the Red Dead series, that was ultimately the death of Red Harlow and the birth of John Marston. So whatever happened to the character, not much is known of what happens to Red Harlow following the events of Red Dead Revolver, but I will say with Red Dead Revolver and the Red Dead Redemption games being considered in part of their own separate universes, I don't think think we'll ever see Red Harlow make a return to a future Red Dead installment, although that could be entirely false and he could end up making a cameo in Red Dead Redemption 2 or in a future Red Dead game. I'm just saying that for the time being, it really looks like Red Harlow is going to be left strictly to the Red Dead Revolver title. Anyways, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for today's video. Just a quick summary of the original Red Dead poster child. If you guys want to see more videos like this, maybe, you know, in the future I can go a little more in depth on Red Harlow, some more distinctive features on what separates him from John Marston in character design as well as background story, as well as provide some more synopsis as Red Dead Redemption 2 finally is released. But anyways, like always guys, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Cynic. Hopefully y'all did enjoy, but until next time my friends, I'll see you all later.